Hello everyone. It's time for another edition of Your Image, the only public relations program in television on Africa. My name is Dari Folari. Today, we are looking at a very germane issue. The topic that we have titled, Responsible Public Communication. How are they talking to us? How are we, as citizens, talking to our leaders? I have two jugglers to unpack the topic for me this afternoon. I'm pleased to introduce to you the retired permanent secretary in Ogun State, Barrister Nephew Adebi. Barrister Adebi, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you very much
for your invitation. Okay. I also have with me a public affairs analyst who also incidentally retired also from the Ogun State Civil Service as a director, Alhaji Shola Shoriola, Mojid Shola Shoriola. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Fulani. Okay. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much. Well, let me start with you, Barrister. When we talk about public communication, what does decency, what does it entail? What does etiquette? What does it entail? How do we communicate in public? And what's the position of the law too? Because you're also a lawyer.
First and foremost, communication entails encoding information and decoding from the other end.
Right.
What that means is the listener must understand what you are trying to say.
Right.
And that means you must say it in such a way that it will not confuse the listener.
Right.
So, decent public communication entails the use of appropriate words, appropriate registers, and appropriate technical details.
Right.
That will not insult intelligence of others, that will not damage their reputation, that will not make them look little before the world. It is inappropriate to describe human beings as animals, and it is not right to treat them as such.
Okay.
Therefore, appropriate public communications comes from both sides. If you are a leader, there must be proper respect for your subordinates. In fact, the law recognizes that in dealing with human beings, specific fundamental rights of such persons must be recognized. You don't threaten to kill somebody because that would be infringing on his right to personal dignity. You don't say things that make them look little before the world, because you must protect their personal dignity before other human beings.
Thank you very much.
These are the areas where appropriate communication is important. And when the followers too, responsible followership insists that the followers must respect their leaders.
Right.
Not just bow, but in the way you respond to what your leader wants, and in ensuring that decorum reigns at all times.
Yes, decorum is the word. Alhaji Mojid, do we have decorum in some of our public conversation? We hear people abusing people, calling people names, and even some leaders, some calling leaders names. What's your take on this?
Okay, thank you once again for inviting me. Before I go straight to your question, let me define public communication from my own perspective.
Okay, please.
My senior, my guy in the service, did it from the legal perspective.
Right.
As a sociologist, public communication can be regarded as the spread of public information to a mass of people, that is to the public. And that's why in journalism it is called mass communication. Right. It only implies that dispatch of information to a mass of people that will go through a channel or through several channels immediately, instantly, just like you are doing now. You are passing information,
right,
which is going to a particular target globally this time around.
Right.
Because we are doing work all over the world, I believe. Now, communication is a two-way traffic. It comes from a source and is directed at a particular source. That's what is called two-way traffic.
Right.
And those two sides have responsibilities in order to ensure that the message gets to the target and most appropriately. It's not enough for a message to be sent, but it matters a lot how it is sent. And that is why I believe we are discussing this issue, given what happened recently from a highly placed public officer for that matter, to one of us in the journalism world. I'm happy that the whole world descended on the public official who was inappropriate in the choice of words particularly. Because like I said, if information has to be properly disseminated, properly taken, it has to be properly disseminated. So what the public officer did without noticing is very inappropriate. So and the message he was passing apparently wasn't received.
Right.
So it's like he has wasted his time.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. In etiquette, we talk about the 3 R's of etiquette: responsibility, respect, and restraint. In this kind of influence that you referred to, where are the 3 R's in that kind of situation?
First and foremost, let me state here clearly that I didn't watch the program where the honorable minister threatened to shoot a journalist.
Right.
But if in actual fact, because I have read in several Facebook posts, social media posts, where the personal assistant to the honorable minister himself has been trying to defend that position that speech as he was describing as a figure of speech and so on, figurative expression, trying to downplay the intensity of the language used. So if it is true that the Minister of FCT threatened to shoot, he has offended Section 31st of Section 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because what he has just done is to compare that journalist, Sheikh Okenole, as an animal. Because if you say you want to shoot, you can only shoot animals as game. So you don't threaten to shoot people. And from the face of the law, that is threat to life. You are threatening to kill somebody because he has annoyed you. So he has not, the minister, if it is true, has not demonstrated restraint and responsible conduct before the world, if it is true. And if it is established that it's a disaster to life, which is punishable under Section 323, Section 86, and Section 310 of the Criminal Code. And it carries 7 years imprisonment. Because the felony offense, because it involves a threat to kill somebody, threat to murder. In that case, it is important for all public officers, however highly placed, to be decorous, to be responsible, and to respect human beings like themselves. Being in public office is a privilege, which at the fullness of time expires. So what becomes of the public officer. But at the same time, apportioning names has to be true.
Right.
The journalist may have provoked the human person in the minister before he got angry to make such a statement. Because you have to be very careful. You cannot say the minister has done this. What was the cause? The minister is a human being, and if you cannot say because you have the power of the microphone, you hide behind the camera, you can now harass, intimidate, and disgrace public officers. The microphone is not power. It's just a means to communicate your ideas to the public. You will not allow them to make their point. You are just making them look foolish before the world. Anyone can get angry. But at the same time, what about emotional intelligence? Where is the place of emotional intelligence? That's exactly right. You need to rise above emotions when you're provoked. That is why there should be some sort of during the selection process, some sort of psychological and psychiatric screening for anyone aspiring into high public office. Because if you cannot restrain yourself in the face of probation, you cannot lead human beings. You see, it is only animal kingdom where you get a result of 0.01. Because if animals behave in exactly the same way. For example, if you put grains down, a goat will always eat the grain. If that goat does not eat the grain, it means that the goat is sick or it is pregnant. The human being may be hungry and you will see in fish. So human psychology is different.
Okay.
So any leader who holds the public office must hold with it a level of decorum, a level of restraint and respect for others, such that you do not expose yourself as someone who is psychologically incapable of holding such office.
Okay. Thank you very much for your thoughts. I come to you, Alhaji Mojeed.
Yes.
In public office, in public discourse, we have a lot of violent utterances, invectives and everything. People calling people names and all the rest. So what's your advice to citizens generally, both the rulers and the led?
Well, like I did say earlier that the public of information, that is the person sending information, as well as the target, that is the mass or the people who are supposed to take the message, have responsibility. It's a dual responsibility. So let me start from the leaders. Leadership entails a lot of things, one of which is the need to be decorous, the need to live above board. Because because when you say leader, going by the etymology of that word, somebody that leads, that shows example, if you like, and that implies that no matter how provoked a leader is, he's supposed to have what we call temperament. He's supposed to be able to temper it and pretend as if nothing has happened. That is one of the attributes of a leader, the ability to adjust immediately. But unfortunately, in our climb, we have seen a lot of many leaders who are not able to live up to expectations. And the recent incident is a very good example of how leaders take advantage of their position, how leaders want to play God, how leaders want to give the impression that they can do anything and nothing is going to happen to them. That does not give good impression of leaders. And that is why I want to believe that followers in Nigeria have lost a lot of faith, a lot of confidence. And they also want to disrespect leaders. I know that respect is reciprocal.
Right.
If you respect me, I will respect you. But if a leader refuses to live up to expectation of conducting himself or herself with dignity, with decorum, then he doesn't deserve to be respected.
Okay. You mentioned trust. How can leaders earn the people's trust? What are the things that a leader can do, for instance, to boost trust?
At the risk of repetition,
right.
We have, my colleague here has outlined different qualities of a leader: decorum, restraint, respect for others. But at the same time, the laws which establishes whatever office you are holding and the social laws of interaction between one person and another must be strictly obeyed, to the extent that you know what a person is as a leader. However, we cannot continue to blame leaders only without examining the kind of followership we have in this country. Give power to a dog, you find out that it will begin to bite everybody, because that's where its power lies. Many of those followers who are complaining of leadership tyranny are themselves tyrannical. Look at two examples of pressmen who handle microphones and interview people on TV. See the way they harass people.
They
show the impression they give out there is that they invite these people to their studios to embarrass them, to disgrace them, not to elicit information. You see, the impression created by Edmund Burke in 1787 when he described the press as the fourth estate of the world is that the press, whoever is working as a pressman, should understand his role, educate, inform, entertain, and in addition act as the voice of the voiceless.
Right.
Not to bring the leaders for the purpose of disgrace. For instance, I personally will not sit down in the studio where the interviewer will ask one question. He will not allow the interviewee to fill that question to ask another one. Just to portray that interviewee as unintelligent or unfit.
Okay.
So what is it? So our followers themselves must understand the purpose of followership. The purpose of being a pressman is to expose to the whole world the function of each party.
As we begin to unwind, let's look at the family setting. You know, even public discourse among family members, we see some fathers abusing their children, we see some children abusing their parents too. What do you have to say to this as we round off?
Well, it's a reflection of what obtains in the larger society. You see, leadership matters a lot, and at times when some people try to turn things the other way around. For example, give me the impression that leadership is a product of followership.
Right.
I've seen some people throw that line that leadership is a function.
The people get the kind of leaders that
exactly. Whereas the truth is that followership is a function of leadership. Because look at the example you give in a family. If a child, for example, speaks roughly to a father, then if you look deeply, you discover that that father something will be done with the father. Because ordinarily, on a good day, a responsible father will have responsible children. Ordinarily, all things equal. But if you turn the other way around, it means that that father has not got the expectation.
As we begin to round off, your last word, just generally as we close.
Let each human person holding whatever office, either high up or low places, recognize that he is dealing with human beings, not animals that can be programmed to do particular things. And talking about the family unit is a product of conditioning. That is, children are conditioned to copy whatever they have been conditioned by the father and the mother. Where they have no respect for themselves, the children will grow not to have respect for people. And that is why you see some people jumping overboard to impress the world that they know virtually everything while they know nothing at all.
Thank you very much. We would like to thank you, Barrister, for coming. We'd like to thank you, and on that note, we would like to drop anchor. On behalf of the whole PRPMS team led by Aki Okudero and others, this is yours sincerely, Dari Folari saying bye for now.